What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Fish in the Moment. I just got done fishing here on Beaver Lake, freezing my butt off out here. It's still really cold. But while I was out here fishing, I was thinking about a quote that I heard from a Bassmaster television show of the Bassmaster Classic in 1995. And during the show, Rick Clunn, four-time Bassmaster Classic Champion, was talking about one of the biggest mistakes that tournament anglers make that cause them to not succeed in tournaments. And the quote resonated with me a lot, and it's actually something that I tell people all the time. And so I want to have you listen to this quote. Now I'm going to talk about my experience using the same concept, and hopefully it'll help you overcome some of your tournament struggles this year. So let's get into it. So before we get into this video, if you haven't heard of Rick Clunn before, he is a legend of bass fishing. He's won 4 Bassmaster Classics, which is tied for the most ever with Kevin Van Dam. He's had 16 first place finishes on the Bassmaster Tour. He has been winning tournaments since the 1970s and has also been winning tournaments recently as this last year. And he is just an amazing fisherman, super intellectual, and he's been a role model and a mentor for me since I've been 9 years old. So when I hear advice from Rick Clunn, I listen. And I want to play you this clip from some advice he gave in 1995, which is super important and something that's still really relevant today, even 20 years later. And it's going to be helpful for any tournament bass fisherman out there.
And you just keep that positive mental attitude and you never give up. That's one of the reasons I'm sure that you're so successful.
Well, I think it's important that you pace yourself correctly. I think too many times we all would love to catch a limit the first hour, the first cast even. But when that doesn't happen, and then you've already set yourself up for some real negative situations. So I really try to pace myself. The most important part of any given tournament is the last 2 hours. That's when you're more apt to break down mentally and physically and get just frustrated and all that. So I think most tournaments are lost that last 2 hours and by far the first part of the tournament.
There you have it, folks.
So if I was to restate Rick's advice here, it would be that the first hour of a fishing day isn't necessarily any more important than the last hour of a fishing day. And if you go into your fishing day and expect to catch him first thing in the morning and then don't, and then get discouraged throughout the day and give less effort or have less confidence at the end of the day, you're not going to be a successful angler, and especially not a successful tournament angler. And in my experience, this is something that everyone struggles with, and it's something that I had to deal with a lot when I was learning to tournament fish. And after a while, I realized that when I go out in the lake, I usually catch my fish in 1 to 2 hour windows. And in a tournament day or a fishing day, I might catch most or if not all of my good fish in a 1 hour bite window. And so that bite window might be in the first hour of the day, the middle of the day, or the end of the day. And in my experience, it seems like I have just as much of a chance of getting that bite window to be in the morning as in the afternoon, because the thing that dictates that is the weather conditions, the current, the fish's behavior. There's a lot of things that go into it that we can't really control. And so all you can really do is fish as hard as you can from the beginning of the day to the end of the day until you hit that bite window. But one common thing that I see among a lot of fishermen that I fish with and tournament anglers that I've been in the boat with is that people get discouraged really quickly on the water. Let's say you go 2 to 3 hours without a bite. A lot of people will have a lot less energy, a lot less confidence that they're actually going to catch fish. And what I think a lot of times happens is that you'll go to the lake, you'll have 5 or 6 spots picked out in your mind, you'll go there and you have really high expectations about catching fish. And when you don't succeed 2, 3, 4 times in a row, you think, well, oh man, the fish just aren't biting today. Maybe the fish just aren't in these areas, or maybe I'm just a bad fisherman. But a lot of times what happens is that you just missed that bite window. And so maybe the spots you picked out are good areas, but instead of the fish biting in the first 2 or 3 hours of a tournament or fishing day, they bite in the last hour of the day. Just because the conditions are better that time of day, where the wind is up, the sun is up, maybe there's more current, whatever it is. And so one reason I believe anglers struggle to catch fish or struggle to succeed in tournaments when they first start out is because they really run out of steam about 2 or 3 hours into their fishing day and lose confidence. And this will cause them to only put in about 3 or 4 productive hours of fishing, where their competitors or other anglers are putting in 8 straight hours of fishing with high confidence levels throughout the entire day. And just from personal experience, I can tell you that a lot of tournaments are won in the last 2 or 3 hours of a fishing tournament. And one year actually, when I was fishing on the University of Arkansas bass fishing team, my partner and I won Angler of the Year. And it was funny because we didn't catch a single keeper bass until 11 o'clock every single tournament of that season. And we actually won 3 of the tournaments, and we caught our best fish within the last hour of the day. And the reason for that was because the conditions just happened to turn out more favorable in the afternoon in a lot of the tournaments. And so a lot of the other fishermen in our tournament were pretty much done fishing by about noon. Some of them have left early. Some of them just maybe resorted to throwing a spinning rod down the bank, trying to just put a keeper in the boat. But my fishing partner and I stayed confident. We knew that maybe the bite will turn on at some point in the day, and it did, and we were able to catch some really good fish and then secure the Angler of the Year and secure some really high tournament finishes. And this is something that I've seen throughout my entire tournament career, and a lot of times I catch most of my good fish in the afternoon because it takes me a while to figure out exactly what the fish are doing on a given day and establish a pattern for that day. And then after 4 or 5 hours, maybe not catching any fish, I'll figure out that one piece of the puzzle that I was missing, and I start catching a ton of fish. And another thing that I've noticed in a lot of my major tournament wins is that I catch most of my fish within 30 minutes to an hour of each other. And so I might fish for 6 hours straight, have maybe 1 or 2 small keepers in the boat, and then proceed to catch 3-4 pounders on back-to-back-to-back casts. And this can be offshore or up shallow. And if I didn't keep my confidence level high, didn't continue to fish despite not succeeding earlier in the day, I may have just given up and not caught those fish, or maybe started running fewer areas, maybe not having the confidence to actually look for new areas, whatever it is. And a lot of times, this is the downfall of new tournament anglers. So going back to Rick Clunn's advice to pace yourself when you're in a tournament, it's really important to set your expectations properly before you go fishing. A lot of times, guys, again, are setting their expectations that they're going to catch a bunch of fish on their first spot or maybe their second spot. And when that doesn't happen, you lose confidence, you get discouraged. And so what I recommend is breaking up your fishing day in your mind into 8 one-hour segments, or maybe 4 one-hour segments, depending on how long you get on the water. And tell yourself that you have equal probability of catching your fish in each of these segments. And then when you go 3 or 4 segments without catching any fish, you're not going to be as discouraged, and you'll say, okay, well, I just need to keep searching, I need to try some new baits, maybe you need to change area of the lake, whatever it is, and tell yourself that you have just as much of a chance to catch those fish at 1 o'clock in the afternoon as you did at 7 a.m. in the morning. And this will take a lot of practice. It will take some time to figure out how to maintain your confidence, maintain your energy level. But if you can learn to do this, you're going to be a much more successful angler, and you're going to do a lot better in your tournaments as well. And a couple things you can also do to improve your tournament results is to prep before your tournament and figure out what you want to do in each of those segments, or at least a rough idea. So you actually have an 8-hour plan, rather than just going to the lake and saying, okay, we're going to fish this bank, this bank, and this bank, and that's it. Really focus on preparing for a tournament, just like you would prepare for a business meeting or prepare for a final exam on a test. The better you can prepare, the better you're going to do in your tournaments. And I'll be doing a lot of tournament videos here in the future on the channel. I'll talk about how I'm going to practice for tournaments, actually show you tournament videos, things like that. I'm planning on starting that up in the spring. But for now, I'm going to keep up with the regular instruction videos and these insight videos as well. And so hope you guys enjoyed this topic. I know that this is something that's a little more abstract, but I hope you guys find this useful, and it's just stuff that I think about all the time, so I kind of want to let you guys into my thought process. And so if you enjoyed this video and want me to continue doing these style videos in the future, leave a comment down below letting me know what you think. Also like the video if you enjoyed, and other than that, I'll see you guys in my next video.